Hello and welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint Show. I am your host, Jay Jones. Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the Black community by promoting business ownership. If you are currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, we invite you to join us every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint.
Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 307. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today we're going to be talking with world-renowned designer Mr. Paul Aarrington, founder of Paul Aarrington Denim Studio. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that listen to BEB that are interested in getting into the fashion and the clothing business. Make sure you tune in for today's episode. Now, it's kind of funny because I asked Paul during the interview, how did you decide to go into the fashion industry? And it just so happened that one of his co-workers said, man, Paul Aarrington menswear has a nice ring to it. And that little comment started Paul along his path to becoming a world-class designer with no experience, no previous experience. So anything is possible, family. Now, before we get into today's episode, I do want to share a few things with the BEB family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the podcast. Welcome to the BEB family. And please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all of my social media contact information and also all of my entrepreneur resource links, like the link to my new book, A New Black Wall Street, and also my two platforms designed to help circulate business in the Black economy, BeSmartByBlack.com and HireBlackFreelancers.com. Also, this is going to be a podcast, and the video interview is on YouTube. Now, I do have to warn you that there are some audio glitches in the actual podcast, so please bear with us. The content, though, is outstanding. So let's get ready to talk to Mr. Paul Aarrington from Paul Aarrington Denim Studio. Okay. We are live with Paul Aarrington from Denim Studios. Brother Paul, how are you today, man?
I'm good. And yourself, Jay?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, man. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule, man, to share with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family, man. You have a very amazing, actually, story, man, about how you got into what you're doing now. But before we get into your entrepreneurial journey, just tell us a little bit about Paul Aarrington, who he is, where he's from, and a little bit about your background. Then we'll jump into your entrepreneurial story.
Sure. As you already stated, my name is Paul Aarrington. Originally from New York, from the Bronx, New York, actually. I grew up like everyone else, outside, hanging out all the time, playing ball with, the fellas, just doing average things, nothing extraordinary, just average guy from the Bronx, just looking to do things, looking to not be caught up in what was going on in the neighborhood that we lived in.
Definitely.
So,
that's all right. I'll take it from here.
Yeah, it's not amazing. The rest of it is where it begins to get, where, and I didn't want to go into that until you were ready to, start asking those questions.
All right, so we're going to talk about your transition. Tell us a little bit about Paul Aarrington Denim Studio, what that is, and then we're going to backtrack and talk about your journey, how you got there. So what is Paul Aarrington Denim Studio?
Okay. Paul Aarrington Denim Studio is about, creating a freedom of expression in terms of like the look of the line, the feel of it, the fabrics. A lot of the fabrications and things that are used actually have come out of Italy. My intent was to use the better quality products and give you a better quality presentation, right from the start. And all of this comes about as of the journey that I went on, which you'll get into, and it'll show you how we got here. But, it's a collection of is denim, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, sneakers. We even had a fragrance maybe about 3 months ago, 4 months ago,
Okay.
I really started to push the fragrance before everything happened, but we were in the process of putting it together probably back in February 2019, so
Okay.
it's been a long ride with that part of it.
All right. So let me ask you, did you grow up in the fashion industry, or was it something you just morphed into? Tell us about, I know after you got from college, you went to work in corporate America at first before you
I
transitioned?
was at RCA Records. I was interning and then worked at RCA Records, and I was working another job at the same time.
Okay.
The other job I was working will lead you into how I got here, because the guy I used to work with, he used to play around with the name. He'd be like, "Yeah, Paul Aarrington Menswear." And I was like, okay, you know what? You playing, but it sounds good. Let's see what we can do. So I started looking into it, trying to figure out, because I didn't know anything about fashion other than getting dressed like anybody else. Again, I was from the Bronx. So, you
Right.
threw on the fitted, and you had the team jackets or the shirts, and that was it.
You had your
That's all I
Kango
knew.
back then,
But
man?
I did. Nah, I mean, I'm around there. I still know everybody, around there. But
Right.
I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be back there with any permanency now.
Right.
I've been there
That's what's
already.
up. So
You
this is
know.
kind of interesting. So one of your coworkers said Paul Arrington's menswear, and that was the impetus for you to get into the fashion game, huh? That's wild, man.
Yeah,
So what?
because it sounded good. I said to myself, I was like, all right, you playing around, but it sounds good. So, again, I sought the people anybody that I could find that knew anything about, putting together clothing, putting together a line, fabrication, and how to make it all come together. So,
Wow.
someone that I was dating at the time, her aunt owned a factory in the Bronx at that.
Okay.
And she took me over there and she sat me down. She asked what I wanted to do. I had a vague idea, but I didn't have the same clarity that I have now. And I
Right.
think that's the difference between, someone that's just starting and someone that's been around the block for a little bit. You have a different clarity as to what you want to do and how to get from A to B.
Right.
But she sat me down, we went over, patterns and ideas, and I used to bring her fabrics and things. It was like, hey, I want to make this. Let's do this,
Right.
and she'd make them. Yeah, she'd sit there and make them, and I would bring her so much stuff that at some point she got tired of it. She was like, look, you're gonna have to learn how to make your own samples.
Right.
So she took me to the factory. She sat me down. She used to teach me how to sew. She was like,
Okay.
if you're really gonna do this, you need to know how to sew.
Right.
So she introduced me to a lot of the girls that were working at the factory. They showed me the machines. She showed me the machines, the attachments, and just how to make simple things happen.
Hmm.
So I started learning how to put together an entire garment step by step, the different
Wow.
seam types, the different thread types, which machines to use for what functions. And it,
Mm.
it, it really kind of opened things up for me. It was like, oh, wow, okay, this is what it takes.
Wow.
Most of the time you take it for granted. You go in the store, you buy
Uh-huh.
your garment, you don't think anything about how it came about. You just like, all
Hmm.
right, I like this. You buy it, you put it on, and that's the end of it. But
Wow.
there are a million and one decisions that go into a garment, from the design concept to the thread selection, the fabric selection, how the
Mm.
fabric is being sewn together, all sorts of stuff that as a consumer you don't think anything about. But
Right.
as you're trying to put it together yourself, you start to realize, you look at one garment, and I can pinpoint about 10, 15 decisions that were made just off of
Wow.
a t-shirt.
Get out of here.
So
That's great.
it was a lot. It was a lot.
Man,
It was a long learning curve with that, but interesting.
that's what I was going to ask you about. In terms of you coming in cold with no experience in that industry, how long do you think it took you to get a foothold or an understanding of what it took to actually be a designer?
Um, the learning curve was long. I can tell you, you're looking at years of work.
Okay.
To get from an item that looked good to an item that's sellable is a whole different ball game. The
Okay.
first few pieces that I put together in my head, I thought they're great. But looking back at them now, it's like, man, this is horrible. It's terrible.
Right.
But at that time, your frame of mind is because you're just starting. It's like, wow, I did this. You know what I'm saying? So you're looking at it and you're like, okay, somebody else is gonna love it. And then when you start to present it and no one else is loving it the way you are, you're like, man, put everything into this, and it makes
Yeah.
you realize, like, I have to take a serious look at things that I like versus what the public is interested in. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it became a process of learning that. But it took months to at least get from something bad to something decent, that
Cool.
became like, okay, all right, now I can see where you're going versus like, what is
Right.
that? So
Well,
yeah.
you know what's funny? My wife is watching one of these reality shows on TV now. It's like one of these designer shows, and I'm looking
Yeah.
at the clothes, and I'm saying to myself, who would wear some of this stuff out in public? Some of it was just outlandish, and
Yeah.
guess they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but 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 what were some of your influences when you started in terms of your designs? Were there any other designers you kind of patterned yourself after, or how did you come up with your quote unquote your own style?
Like with anything, like with any genre, whether it be fashion or music, in the beginning, you don't have your own style.
Mm.
You're looking for a style. You look at other artists and you kind of emulate what they do. And then, it takes enough people to tell you, well, this looks like this person.
Right.
And then you go back and you're like, all right, let me change it a little bit. And they're like, all right, I see it, but it still looks like that person. You know what I'm saying? And it takes a bit before you get your own knack of who you are and how to translate that into what you do. As
Okay.
far as the designers that I was influenced by, I came up during the time urban fashion was just, coming about with the Carl Kanais and Fubu and Mecca and Maurice Malone's and
Mhm.
things like that. So the baggy jeans, the oversized
Cross
t-shirts
colors.
that I came up in, yeah. So, I had them
Yeah.
to look at, but also I took a look at like the Tommy Hilfigers, your Ralph Lauren's, and things like that. They were
Mhm.
making more of a preppy look, but there were still some kids in the hood that would wear the preppy look and can go from that, to throwing on the baggy jeans and just, transition very easily. And I said to myself, I was like, wow,
Mhm.
I like both. I don't want to be stuck over
Right.
here, but I don't want to totally follow, a particular preppy path either. So, you know, um,
Right.
but again, the urban designers kind of did it for me.
Let me ask you a question, man. You just brought up like Tommy Hilfiger, some of the other notable Ralph Lauren, some of the other notable designers. I have a question
Okay.
for you in reference to why do you think that a lot of our youth, and not even just youth, but a lot of our folk are spending crazy money with Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all of these other designers, and not really supporting us, quote unquote, black designers. What's your thoughts on that?
Um, Everything is about a brand. These companies have branded their products for so long that they're embedded in the culture.
Mm.
Again, and it's unfortunate that, some of our youth validate their own look and apparel based on, the higher end fashion and the wealthy and what they look like, because, again, when you're growing up in the hood, you're aspiring to be successful, hopefully. That's not
Right.
everyone's case, but
Right.
you're looking in that direction. So you're not only looking at what they're doing to become successful, you're looking at how they dress and you start to emulate that. You know what I'm saying? So as you emulate that, for you, that becomes a staple. Well, this is an achievement to be able to wear a $1,500 Gucci bag, or $500 pair of Louis Vuitton sneakers or whatever it be. Now here we come and we're looking at it like someone like myself is like, I could do that. Why can't I do that? If they can do it, why can't I do it? And we set on that path to get this stuff done. But, unfortunately, in our own culture, it gets looked at. You're not validated until they validate you. And that shouldn't be the case. I have the same skill set as they do. I sit down and I put my products and develop it together the same way they do. I'm using fabrications and methods that they're using. So what's the difference? Again, I think it's about validation. Unfortunately, it's like, well, you're not a Gucci. Well, who are you? But you ain't never met that man either.
Exactly.
Or that family, or whatever it be. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if you were to send a letter, they'd probably not be interested in meeting you in the first place.
Exactly.
I can't, say that for, but I'm pretty sure of that one.
Yeah, pretty sure.
But yeah, again, it's about validation, and we haven't learned to validate our own culture from within just yet. And I think we're getting there, but unfortunately, it still takes, oh, if Tommy said he's hot, then he must be. But
Right.
if one of us say he's hot, then it's like, well, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
We got to get out of that too, man. Because like you said, you're doing the same thing as Versace, all these other cats.
Yeah.
And it's about what you said, the validation. Unfortunately, seems like we have to be validated by somebody else.
Exactly.
I want to pull back for a quick second, man, and talk about, as we get into your story, talk about how you financed your business when you started. Because a lot of times, one of the biggest issues we have as entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't have the funding or financing to be able to start the business or fund it, the way that it needs to be funded to be successful. So how did you finance your business?
It's like with anything, again, I was working a job and I was looking to, seriously set this in motion, so whatever extra money I could make, working, whether it be overtime. And I actually had a recording studio at the time then, and that will lead you back to this at some point. But I used to have people come to the house, and I had to set up in my, my bedroom and everything, stick somebody in the closet, recorded the vocals, and we do, the music and everything right then and there. But I would charge them, so you're paying to stand in the closet, but you're recording, a good vocal. So whatever I could do to make the money is what it worked. But I always understood you had to invest back into yourself.
Right.
You can't have that goal of wanting to be A, B, or C, but you're investing your money elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not willing to invest your money in yourself, no one else will be willing to invest money in you because you're not even interested in you.
Exactly.
So a lot of that came from, the work I was doing. Along the way, I discovered shows like the Black Expo. I think we had talked about,
about that
one time before, which was a great, man. It was a great venue for, people trying to come up and for us to show our products from our culture and what we were doing. And believe it or not, there was a lot of talented people there that had products that were great, that probably never saw the light of day,
Right.
other than the expo itself.
Exactly.
But yeah, I would go. The first expo, that I did, I went in there and I had these T-shirts in my mind. I was like, oh, these are great. I got there, they were, I think I was telling you, couldn't sell none of them. It's like, why? I'm looking at all the work. I'm like, why? I don't understand. But I had to take a look back at it, and I'm looking at the quality of the print work, looking at the quality of the design, the uniqueness, and I'm just like, okay, I'm understanding. I'm looking at commercial items versus what I'm doing, and I'm like, I can't see this sitting next to this product in a store.
Right.
So I had to condition myself to understand, can I see my product sitting next to someone else's in like a Macy's or in, whatever the store may be. And that's how you begin to narrow your vision is as far as developing a sellable product, not just a nice looking product. but a sellable product.
Yeah, that
You
makes
know,
that makes a
so
lot of sense.
yeah, so a lot of the funding came from that. The expos, the work, and the studio work, a little bit of money, and I just took it and I always put it back in. So.
Right. Yeah, that's a key point too. Investing in yourself, and like you said, if you don't invest in yourself, how do you expect other people to invest in you if you don't even believe that much in yourself? You know what I mean?
You can put your money up there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Get some skin in the game. Uh, let me
exactly.
ask you. Let me ask you, man. I'm looking through your bio, and it talks about Paul Aarrington, New York, and now you have Paul Aarrington Denim Studios.
Yeah.
Was that a transition in your branding? What was the cause of that? Was it just a rebrand, or what?
The Paul Aarrington, New York was my attempt to get into, and this goes back to the time when like Banana Republic was popular and, things
Hmm.
like that. So I was like, wow, okay, let me do dress shirts and, pants and, suits and things like that. So I went out and I found the fabrications, the places that I needed to get this stuff done. Now, as far as like getting into tailoring suits, I went, throughout Manhattan, and I even found some of the good tailors that would work with me
Okay.
outside of where they were working. So I said, okay, now I got everything. I got, the shirts, I got the techniques
Hmm.
that, the better companies use. I put it all together. I put together a presentation of collar styles, cuff styles, and shirts and buttons, learned all of it,
Hmm.
with the intent of, let me put this out there first, retail and see what happens. Offered wholesale with the intent of it selling retail. Okay. So I went to a showroom and I spoke to a salesperson. I had my samples with me. It was only a few samples, maybe about 5 shirts or so, a few other items. The guy looked at it. He immediately recognized the Banana Republic in it. He looked at it. He was like, this is more like Banana Republic. I was like,
Right.
like, I was like, okay. But what he said to me was, he was like, look, you're probably going to do better if you sell your product on your own. If you have your own standalone brand, versus trying to sell something wholesale that's already available
Right.
retail from someone else. So I took that advice and I was like, nah, that can't be the end of it. So I started tailoring, suits for. I was a little, it
Yeah.
took a minute for the advice to get in there, but it did. I started tailoring, for different celebrities and basketball players and things like that. I had my tailor and, contacted the people that I need to get to the ball players and things like that. Okay. Come to find in that arena, when you start tailoring suits,
Hmm.
the better suit makers like the Italian companies and the English companies, they have this particular area online in the sense of
Okay.
not only the fabrications, but they're looking at when you come to them, the presentation of the cherry wood, chairs and tables, in their showroom, the fabrics laid out, you select your fabrication, the tailor, depending on which style of tailoring you're using. If you're using the best, which is, I believe, a bespoke tailoring, where they take numerous
Mm.
measurements to get an accurate, look of, your body shape and fit and stuff like that. These guys are serious about their work. So it's not easy for
Right.
you or someone like myself to come in and I'm offering this and the ball player is like, okay, well, why am I going to you? This guy here, their fabrications are from Italy. They're making $10,000 suits. I'd rather pay him the $10,000 than pay you $1,500 because I know what I'm going to get.
Right.
And that became the mentality to try and get past, as I was doing this. And at some point, I, started to realize that this is a little more difficult than I thought. And I was
Right.
dealing with, role players like, let me backtrack a little. I started dealing with Damon Dash. I was working with him on the Damon Dash suit collection while I was doing my
Okay.
own stuff as well, and we went out to do some work for Allen Iverson. So he sent us out to Philly right before a game. I took my tailor with me. We presented the fabrications and collar and cuff styles, and measured them and everything. But while we was there, I was like, oh man, that'd be great. If I could capture all of this, get a picture of Alan and all of that.
Right.
Management was not having it, bro. Was just not
Really?
having it. So it's just like,
Yeah, go.
couldn't get that done. So, but the Paul Aarrington, New York was my attempt to get into, that higher end because, like I said in the beginning, you don't have your own style just yet. You're emulating various other people and companies until you get your footing as to what works for you. And that's what that was. So the concept of it is not completely, out the window. I
Okay.
just know I can't. If I were to go back and pursue it, it wouldn't be in the same way that I did, the first time.
Okay. What you had mentioned Dame Dash, and I know in your bio you mentioned a couple of other entertainers and athletes. How did you break
Yep.
into that connection where you connected with Dame Dash and everybody else that you've been working with?
Um, a lot of it are friends, but the one thing I realized is that you get from point A to point B and then to C, and once you get further enough and you start to look back, you ask yourself, how did I even get here? Because you can't always connect all the dots from one person to the next that puts you from here
Right.
to there. And you're looking back, and you're like, wow, okay, who did I know that got me here?
Right.
But suffice to say, I had met a lot of people along the way, and this backtracks to when I started doing work with um, I think before I started dealing with Damon Dash, I was dealing with Vibe. I was doing some work
Okay.
with Vibe online, and I was building their fashion, portion of their
Okay.
website. And I got introduced to somebody that was at BET, from somebody at Vibe, and from there, that person at BET, I think it was her husband or boyfriend that was dealing with Dame, and they were looking for someone to come in to deal with fabrication and tailoring, and that's how I got connected to Dame.
Oh, that's
You know,
cool.
as far as the other, celebrities, again, it's a okay. I know this person. I grew up with this person, and he knows that
Mhm.
person. It's almost like a 6 degrees of separation. Everybody knows everybody. You can find somebody that you know that knows somebody else. And that's
Right.
exactly how it worked. It was like, okay, one of my friends knows this ball player. Yo, can you reach out to him? This is what I'm doing. Can you connect me? And you get connected. If the person,
Mhm.
is if they gravitate to what you're doing, your product, and you yourself, they might connect you to someone else. And from there on,
Right.
it's just connect after connect after connect. There's not a thing of where, well, I'm gonna go look in the classified or I'm gonna go look up and see how I can jump in. It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't work that way. You have to go to your
Really.
own backyard and see who you know,
Okay.
who they know, and that's pretty much
Mhm.
how you get connected, like to the named Ashes. I did some work with Will Smith. I think that was the only incident that was by pure chance, I would say. And I don't even want to say
Really.
that because I think everything you're able to manifest, the things that you're looking to do. If it's on your mind
Right.
long enough and you're focused, you'll start to draw to you the people, places, and things where you need to
Mhm.
be. With Will Smith, I was supposed to have a meeting at an office that I had on 21st Street,
Okay.
and I had forgotten the key. So I said to him, I was like, look, let's just go to the Barnes and Noble because there was a Barnes and Noble on 6th Avenue and 21st at the time. So I was like, let's go to the Barnes
Mhm.
and Noble and we can, the seating upstairs. We could get some food to eat and sit and eat. We looked over the
Right.
railing and I saw a Jada, and I looked down and I was
Okay.
like, wow, okay, that's Jada. Let me go downstairs. No disrespect to
Right.
Will or
Right. Right.
anything. So
Mhm.
we went downstairs. As soon as I was on the way down to talk to her, I saw Will walking up. And I introduced myself. I said to him what I was doing. I had a postcard at the time in hand. I gave it to him,
Mhm.
and oddly enough, he asked me. He was like, "Are you any good?" I was like, "Yeah, I think so." So he was like, he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna have my assistant call you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I figured, you know what
Yeah.
that
Right.
means. I'm gonna have them call you. Before I got back up the steps, his
Mhm.
assistant called me.
Wow.
Will is that type of person.
Damn.
Hands down, I've met a lot of people, a lot of celebrities. Will is what you see of him on TV as far as his interviews and being good natured like that, that's him.
That's cool.
There's no ambiguity about it. That's him. So his assistant called me and we connected, and he was like, "Look, just come down to where we're staying." At the time, they were filming Hitch,
Right.
and they were staying in Soho. So I came to the place where they were at. You know, he was like, "Look, bring some fabrics and things like that, and go over fabrications. You know, I'll let you know what Mr. Smith was interested in." We went over that. He was like, "Look, go back. Here's the measurements. Make some stuff." Now they wouldn't allow me to bring my tailor in and do our own measurements. They had their tailors, and they're like, "Look, these are the measurements we want you to use, and that's that." I guess they don't allow just anyone to handle him. So his entire organization is very well structured. So it's not like walk up to him and be like, "Hey, put this on."
Right.
It's not gonna look like that. They gravitate to it, but you still got people around him that are kind of the gatekeepers to keep out just anything in his path. And we went over the fabrications. We got the shirts and stuff done, and he was like, "Okay, how much?" And I was like, "Oh wow." In my head, I was willing to give it to him, but he was like, "No,
Right.
How much?" So I gave him a price, and this is the assistant talking to me.
Right.
He said to me, "Never undercut yourself with your own price," meaning like don't lowball yourself. If you believe your work is worth this amount of money, then that's what you should charge. Let the other person deal with it as to whether they want to pay it or not. But you believe your work is worth that, and that's what it is. So I gave him one price, and he bumped it up a little bit and was like, "This is what you should be starting at with this type of work." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Coming from them, it made a world of difference there. Made me understand, like, if I'm putting this much, work into the quality and workmanship and the fabrication, now I understand, like, there are a group of people that are waiting to pay for what you're offering. Because they want that quality, they want that service, they want that workmanship, and they paid it outright, not a problem. So I mean, it was a good thing, and it worked similarly with other celebrities. I've had some bad experiences too, some experiences that left me kind of dumbfounded. I remember I met one ball player, and I went down to his hotel room. I had my whole pack, my whole book. I had the collar styles, the cuffs, button styles, mother of pearl buttons, and anything you wanted, and like your shirts and things like that. We went through the whole process. He selected what he wanted. He was like, "All right, I like this fabrication. I like this cuff. The cutaway cuffs, and all sorts of stuff." And we got down to the end, to the cost thing, and it was like, "Well, I gotta ask my mom and see, if I can buy this suit."
Oh man!
I was like, "What?" But this
funny.
was a ball player. I don't want to say his name, but he had just gotten into, I think, the Timberwolves at the time, when the expansion when this had happened. And they were paying him millions of dollars. And I'm saying to myself, like, you mean you gotta ask your mom if you can buy this suit or not, man? I was like, "All right, man." So
That's funny, man.
I was like, "You let me
Did
go."
he buy it?
And no, I guess mom said no, but I don't know. I just left it at that. I mean,
what's funny, man?
When he made the statement, I knew
it was a wrap. Yeah. What's funny, man? When I had my mortgage business, I used to do a lot of athletes and entertainers, kind of like you, based on the people that I knew that knew such and such. And so what I realized when you just said that, I said, I bet you this guy is probably fiscally well off, because a lot of cats just waste money. This dude was like, "Yo, I gotta ask mom if I can get a suit." So to me, hopefully he continued along that path and doesn't end up like a lot of broke athletes that you see now. But that was funny. I gotta ask moms, But nah, that's crazy. Man, so let me ask you real quick, man. When do you feel that your brand broke? What was there a specific instance that you're like, okay, I'm where I need to be right now? Was there a specific instance that you said, all right, I'm on the right path, full speed ahead?
Um, as I began to see, product in stores, my one experience, and this was after, I don't remember, this was after the Black Expo or sometime afterwards. I was on the train at the time in the Bronx. I think I was on the 5 train or something like that. And I saw a guy, it was an older guy too. He walked in and he had on one of my shirts.
Oh, that's what's up.
Right then, yeah, right then. And I just sat there. I didn't say anything. I just looked over and I was like, wow, okay. It makes you understand, like, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're in route to where you need to go. Now, as
Exactly.
far as ever having that feeling of totally arrived, no, because that constitutes to me that I've gotten comfortable, you know what I'm saying? And you don't ever want to get comfortable.
Mhm.
You want to keep pursuing and moving to that next level. So that for me, I don't think there will ever be a sense of, okay, I've arrived and I can just sit here and just, not pursue anything further,
Yeah,
So, but that one experience did validate. When I saw
that's
him on the
powerful.
train with it, I was like, wow, okay, yeah,
Now, let me ask you, man, because I
you know,
know there's a lot of cats out here that are trying to start, clothing brands, be it athletic wear, sportswear, high fashion or whatever. What advice would you give to somebody that's just getting into this space, a young brother or sister that's just getting into this space? What's the number one piece of advice you would give them?
do your homework first. See who's out there, see what they're doing, and see where you believe you fit in. Like I said in the beginning, you're going to emulate someone's style.
Hmm.
Do that until you can, start to chip away, the external influences and be like, okay, this helped me to get where I'm at. But now I don't need that. Now I have a clear idea of who I am and what I want to do, you know. And I think that's the most difficult part. But do your homework first. Do the due diligence on the financial part. Most people think, oh, I'm gonna put a few pieces together and then I'm gonna go out and get a deal, from somebody. But that may not be the best thing. You
Right,
get a deal from somebody financially. How much of your company do they own? You
right.
know, by the
Yeah.
end of it all, how much will you own? And I've been down that route too. So
So can you explain that in I know it works differently in different industries. So if somebody is bringing you on, basically what are they're investing in your company? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It depends on how you
Oh,
go about it. You can go
okay.
about it where some people go after, they make a few pieces, sell some product, and be like, okay, you know what, I want to invest in the back. And now you're looking at an equity situation.
Right.
One, you got to make sure your company's standing is up to par.
Hmm.
Two, you have to do your due diligence on the person that you're pursuing and what they're about and how much you think they're going to look to, get from you out of your
Right.
company. Because again, it becomes a partnership, becomes like a marriage. It's like, you're dealing with this person for the length of time that you're contractually, bound to them,
Exactly.
and you have to know that you're going to get along with them, not only because of the money, but personally, so you can come to them and be like, you can have a candid conversation, not have to worry, well, I'm talking to him, but are they going to take this and, navigate around me and do something other than, what I'm saying? Those type of deals happen. I've been that route. Then some people go in terms of licensing. They'll be like, let me build the brand strong enough, even if it's a few pieces, and then deal with the manufacturers that are willing to pay for the use of my brand and manufacture it and put it out. So
Mm.
it alleviates the work off of you. So there's multiple ways to
Ways to do it.
go about it. And I've been both routes.
Man, it seems like the fashion space is very competitive. What have you done or how do you break through all the noise, man, to stand out? What have you found has been most successful for you to be able to kind of separate
Mhm.
yourself from the multitude?
Um, I think I'm able to translate my experience a lot better at this point in terms of my work. That, and I'm willing to deal with the fabrications and the products that some other companies are not. And it's not to knock any of the urban companies. And the better companies, they're already aware of this. But my intent was to take a combination of the two of them and be somewhere in that middle end, that in between space where it's not so high end that it's out of the reach of somebody else, but it's not totally urban sportswear, so that other side won't look at it either. So it's almost like
Right.
I don't want to use the term chic urban,
Right.
but it's a marriage of the two. Yeah, it's just a marriage of the two. So I think being able to
Okay.
find what one space is doing and another space is doing, and if you can take elements of that and create something new, that works. And I
Mhm.
think that's what I did here. Like if you look at some of my products, like some of the footwear and everything, it's nothing spectacular like a Gucci, but at the same time, it still has enough class to it that both sides of the spectrum, could wear the footwear based on colors and simplicity. Sometimes simplicity is the hardest thing to accomplish because
Right.
as a designer, you're so focused on adding this and adding that you convolute your own work, and
Right.
it becomes like, all right, it's too much,
Right.
so
Man.
yeah, it
Um,
becomes too much.
I wanted to ask you too. You just mentioned, I believe, the quality of Gucci. So my question to you is, let me preface it by a story. When I had my condom business years ago, we were working with a manufacturing company that was manufacturing our hats. We had hats with a zipper, and it was like they looked like colors back in the day.
Yeah,
So they had a zipper in the pocket. We had a condom in it, and we got reached out by a manufacturing company in Brooklyn, that a clothing manufacturer, and they used to produce trench coats, all types of coats, hats, and that type of stuff. So while we're in the factory, we got real cool with one of the owner's son, and we were watching them produce trench coats. And it was so amazing because the same trench coat, one line you slap a London fog tag on it. The other line was like whatever J.C. Penney's brand name was, but it was the
yeah,
identical
exactly,
same coat, right? Now, my question
exactly.
to you is, people put all of this hype and mysticism on like Versace and Gucci. Are their shoes or shirts produced in a different way or with different materials than your product or any other competing product? Or is it just marketing?
Um, I would say it's a combination of both. The marketing is what helps make the connection between a better quality product. Don't get it wrong. There are some cheap products out here. You will get what you pay for. But at the
Right,
same time, some of the manufacturing techniques that the better companies are using cost more. So a smaller company obviously is not going to go that route. They're like, I want the same look, but is there a way
right.
to make it less expensive but look the same? Okay, you
Mhm.
may get a similar look, but how's it going to hold up when somebody wears it or someone uses it? Is it going to have the same
Right.
continuous, look to it and the same continuous performance? That's the thing. Like, excuse me, older shoes, especially men's dress shoes, they used to be stitched down, onto the sole.
Yeah.
But now you see a lot of shoes that are just glued on. The sole is glued on to the rest of the leather and things like that. Now, just that example alone, which one do you think is going to give you a better performance and better lasting, quality? Obviously a shoe that's stitched onto the sole
Right.
versus one that's glued onto the sole and at
Mhm.
some point will eventually break down. Granted, the adhesives have gotten great, but it's still not the same. And it's the same
Gotcha.
thing with sneakers. I've seen sneakers made, and the body of the sneaker itself is pretty much glued onto the sole, so a rubber sole. Again, back when cobblers were in use to make shoes and things like that. They had machines that meticulously stitched,
Right.
that sole onto the body of that shoe,
Yeah.
saying onto that leather. And that's the difference between a better brand and what you're paying for versus a smaller brand that's like, we want to look like that, but without the
Mhm.
cost of manufacturing it like that. So
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So when we talk about like Jordans, right? Everybody still wearing Jordans, going crazy. Those are made in China, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so so the quality of those sneakers, I mean, are they any different than any other sneaker per se, or is it all marketing behind that?
It is primarily marketing.
Gotcha.
Not to say that anything made in China is bad. There are some
Right.
great factories in China, and there are some factories in China that are able to emulate the quality of what would come out of Italy.
Okay.
Granted, there are some factories in Italy that make some terrible stuff too. Don't get it
Right.
wrong. But, they try not to put that out there as a country. I think as a country, someone like Italy, they have a tendency to have more control over the perception of their products coming out of their country versus China. It's like well, we really don't care. We'll put it out there. You're gonna buy it or you're not gonna buy
Right.
it. And the factories that are looking to achieve high quality, they kind of get lost in the mix, except for the people that do production here know where to find the good quality factories in China. But a lot of it is marketing. A lot of it is marketing. I mean, what Jordans can easily run for about $300 a pair
Yeah.
immediately on retail presentation, right? And you got lines
Exactly.
around the block, waiting for it. You
It's
know,
crazy.
yeah. I mean, but part of it is it's like with anything. The more I make you wait for it, the more you want it. The more I
Yeah.
tell you it's the newest item, and a select few have it, the more you want it.
Right.
If I limit the quantity, and I tell you you can't have it, the more I tell you you can't have it, the more you want it. I think that's just human nature.
Exactly.
Some of us have progressed past that. Like, I don't need that. I just I'll wait until all the hype is over because it's still gonna be there. You're still gonna be selling them.
Right.
I don't need to have it on day one because it's not going to change the value of the sneaker.
Right.
And some people get caught up in that marketing, like they need to spend the night outside in the middle of the snow, just to get a pair of sneakers. But if I go on day 33, we both got the same pair of sneakers then, right?
Yeah. That secondary market is crazy though for a lot of these sneakerheads. You know,
Yeah,
they out there and like you said, supply and demand, limited editions. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So they go in there, then they
But
flip them and all of that. Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah.
granted, they've turned that into a market though. They've actually built a market around sneakers like these limited edition Jordans and stuff like that. Some people buy them, wait for a little while until they're no longer available retail, and
Yep.
now they present theirs. They're like, well, I got like 5 pairs of these that I bought when they first came out. How much are you willing to pay for them? Saying I paid 300, I'll give it to you for 5.
Yep.
They've created a market out of this.
Exactly.
It's amazing. What some people see. You know,
Right.
man.
So and also in the fashion industry, I know a lot of times they collabs with like Yeezy and Adidas. I know Travis Scott had his own Nike, I believe. Do you ever do any type
Mhm.
collabs, or have you been approached by people to do that, or is that something that you're not even interested in?
I'm interested in it. I've gone about it a different way though, and it's interesting that you mentioned about the collaboration. During this, whole pandemic and the stay at home, period that we're in now, it kind of forces you to sit and think, and as
Right.
I thought, I said to myself was, okay, we built the media aspect with the intent of making our own commercials and being able to, score the music for the commercials because I have a background in music as well. Like I said, I had a studio well
Right.
before I did the clothing and stuff like that. So I was doing music and producing music, house music and rap music and stuff like that.
Okay.
So what I decided to do was like, okay, we got the media and here, the music that I decided to put together for the commercials, and I just put this together maybe a couple of days before I had spoken to you, with a record label. A friend of mine, Kenny Summit, he owns a label called Good For You Records. They're one of the
Okay.
top labels in terms of EDM, house music, and dance music and stuff like that. So I approached him with offering him, look, I'm going to be putting together original music for these commercials. How about we take this music and put it out on your label? So now, that just creates a secondary income. Okay, you see the commercial, the music is going to drive you to be like, oh, that's hot. But now that you
Right.
can buy the music as well, along with the sneaker, but the music is being distributed, through a record label, through all of the digital services, just makes it
Right.
a great collaboration. As
Right.
well as like what we talked about, we're doing a good for you line of T-shirts and stuff like that,
Mm.
as well. But the music collabo, I think, is an excellent thing, So versus
Man,
going to an artist, which most people do. Instead,
yeah,
I went to the label with the intent of like, okay,
yeah.
we make music for these commercials anyway. Let's put it out. Make the music good enough so that it's good for the commercial, but good that enough that you'd want to buy it,
Wow.
sit in your
Yeah,
car, drive wherever at home, and want to listen to it. So
man,
that was a recent deal.
that's what's up. Man, that brings me to something too. I know I want to get into Nexus Media, but one of the things that we talked about off air was you controlling your vertical. And with
Yeah,
Nexus Media, that's just another portion. So I know you have like a factory and a print shop also, sewing shop.
yeah,
So talk
yeah.
about the importance of controlling your vertical from production all the way to distribution, and what does that mean for you via your bottom line?
Um, Having that control over your vertical, as you say, or your product development and finished product gives you the advantage in the sense of if I don't like something, I can change it immediately. I don't then have to communicate it to a factory or a screen printer and keep doing it until he understands what I see and he sees the same thing. But
Right.
the other aspect of it, it offers the ability of time while you're home sleeping, or not meaning you, but the next person is home
Right.
sleeping.
Right.
I'm up, two,
Right.
3, 4, 5 in the morning doing graphics. Then I'm up the rest
Right.
of the morning. I'm making films for screens and I'm producing this actual product. So I can see, what I'm making on the screen and translate that into a tangible physical product before you even wake up the next day.
Hmm.
That translates into being able to get it up on the website, get it out to whatever retailer or someone like I deal with Amazon, whoever.
Hmm.
I can have that product available before you even got up the next morning and have it printed and done the way that I want well before you started your day. So it makes a difference. And it's not just a printing. What I've tried to do was encapsulate all of it. And I'm not trying to do everything myself, but surround myself with the people that can do it. But I have the equipment here to bring them
Right.
in and do it as well. So, again, I can finish a product. We can do a photo shoot. We got the equipment to shoot here. You know,
Hmm.
um, we can edit it. We can upload it onto the website. We can do embroidery. We can do heat pressing, the screen printing, obviously, the sewing. So if we need labels and things sewn in, rivets on denims and hats and things like that, all of that can be done here in a short
Wow.
amount of time. Even to make a change, if you're dealing with like I'm talking to a factory in China or even another part of the U.S., you
Right.
have to wait till that person gets back to you, responds to your email in a sea of however many emails they have because they have other clients.
Right.
In this case, that's not the case. You know, we can turn around and be like, okay, we put this here. I don't like it. Let's change it and change it immediately, and see
Right.
the result, and it makes a world of difference. That along with if you're good with your graphics and the computer, you can
Mhm.
create a mock-up, a photorealistic mock-up to the point that you know exactly how it's going to look before you even touch your materials or even get to the process of making it. So there should be no ambiguity like it
Right.
look like this on the screen, but it looks like this in person.
Yeah.
And that was the point of all of this. The Nexus Print Studio actually handles the screen printing, the embroidery, the sewing, and stuff like that. The Nexus Media part, which is what you see behind me, will
Hmm.
handle taking that from a product to web commercials, being able to shoot, product. We have the cameras here to shoot the product here and
Hmm.
edit it here, add the
Wow.
music score here, and again, get all of this done before you get up the next morning. That was my intent. You know.
Man, let me ask you this. Do you do outsource any of your work or is that just for internal? So say I wanted a commercial done for one of my brands or something. Would you
hmm
do that? Or are you just focusing on internal or are you looking for out external work also?
No, what we do is, and I've done it with the printing, and we're about to do it with the media aspect, like the screen printing. I have the ability to screen print. When I'm not printing some of my own product, we take orders from other people. Like I have clients,
Yeah.
um, that you probably know of that I could sit here and mention that I've printed their products for.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
I think when you did the interview with Sean Prez, right? He had on the Power Moves T-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was here.
All right. That's what's up.
We did
Okay.
the print here.
Okay.
You
All right.
know, I've done other companies like I was doing Plush Vodkas, a lot of their print work, just a lot of people, and a lot of shirts that you probably see,
Yeah.
out and about that have gotten done here. So it generates income from that as well as generating income from the product, my own company's product too. So I've
Oh,
always tried to do things so that, I can monetize it in, many ways, many different
definitely.
ways of monetizing that one piece of equipment or that one piece of technology. So not just benefiting what I need to do, but I can make some more money externally,
Right.
from it.
All right. Yo,
So, but yeah,
I'm
if you ever
talking
need
to you.
a shirt, we can do that.
Yeah,
We
because I
can do
got a
that.
couple like my shirt here, right? I didn't really start marketing. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like no revolution without economics. And
Okay.
yeah, but screen printing, but also we talked offline before. I got a couple of different ideas, man. That once again, somebody with the expertise that knows what to do. I got concepts, but I don't have the know-how to
Okay.
actually do that stuff. So we'll definitely talk about that, man. Maybe we could do some
Definitely.
collabs or something like that that makes sense for both of us. But yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
So,
That's what's up. Man, let me ask you. Let's get to your website real quick because when I went on your website, bro, that thing was hot, man. And I guess I understand now because of all of the stuff that you have, the components and the vertical that you have. Tell us about your website and what are some of your biggest selling products on there. So give everybody your website information and just talk about some of your biggest selling products on there.
okay, the website is www.paularrington.com. That's one URL that goes to it. Or you can use the branded, which is paularringtondenimstudio.com. They both take you to the same destination.
Okay.
I tried to, acquire the different variations of the brand so that,
Right.
if you misspell it or you type it in one way, it'll take you to the same
Mhm.
destination.
Cool.
As far as the website I did 100% myself. And what I did was,
Oh,
some of it was photography in house. Uh, some of it we use the photorealistic mock-ups that we've done. We'll put it together, or like I'll sit there and I'll put it together, and I'll like, okay, this is a product that's
okay.
sellable to me, and I'll upload it. See, what people think, and I'll start to put it on Facebook and various other places and get people's feedback.
Mhm.
Now if people are like, I don't know, it's not that great. It's all too easy for me to go back just that day and pull it off, just that quick.
Right.
I wouldn't have spent, any time or money making a physical product before I got the feedback. And that's another good aspect
Exactly.
here is that I can get the feedback before, I decide to dive in, like, okay, let's make this product.
Right.
And I think when investors look at that, they look at it like, wow, that's a cost saving, measure. But
Exactly.
we can also gauge what people like before we actually do it. And if they do like it and it's starting to, gain a little traction, we can make it in the quantities that we want and at the speed that we want here versus going to another factory and be like, oh, well, you got to order 10 dozen of these or 100 dozen of that.
Right.
And now you're stuck with all this inventory. A lot of times I
Exactly.
don't inventory much of anything, like, and this is something I usually don't give out. But what I'll do is, and I think we talked about this, what I'll do is like, I'll have like, my blanks, I might bring them in from overseas and keep my shirts blank.
Right.
If any particular style starts to gain momentum, I can just print it versus
Right.
printing everything across the board. And then if something doesn't sell, now I'm stuck with it. So,
Mm-hmm.
I decided, as they come in, they pick up momentum, we'll print it. If we see it really gaining some speed, I'll print a few extras so that we have, and you can just ship it out quick.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no overload of inventory. And I think a lot of the bigger companies are trying to catch up to that concept because
Right.
inventory is costly,
Definitely.
so I tried to avoid that. But
Mm-hmm.
back to the website, my intent was with the website is to immediately, give you the perception of, I'm serious about what I'm doing,
Yeah.
so that if you're here and you're seeing this and you're deciding, maybe we could take a couple shots at him at, maybe he's not up to par here or not up to par there. Well, the website gives you the impression like, well, yeah, I put some work in, I put some time in, my vision is clear when you
Right.
see it there. There is no, well, he's a little bit of this, I don't know. I think he's trying to do that, but I'm not sure. You don't get that when you see the
Right.
site at all, and that was my intent. It has a
Yeah.
very European look and feel to it, so it looks very clean. All the
Mm.
images are very, clean white background, so you can see the product without any, like,
Right.
what is that? It's not
Yeah.
a product. So, I mean, but what
That's,
did you think about the site? You know, when you got there, what was your impression when you first, saw it when we talked offline?
yeah. It was tight, man. It was. I was like, yo, that's dope. I mean, I'm looking at the site and exactly what you said. It has like a European feel. It's clean. You know, imagery. And I tell people, if you're selling online, your imagery, because people can't touch it, smell it, taste it, or whatever you're selling, you
Yep.
gotta have that imagery. And not just the visual imagery, but also the wording or your verbiage. Because you have to get
Yeah.
into people's mouth. What is wearing these sneakers gonna make me feel like? You know what I mean? What is wearing this hoodie going to make me? So it's all about your senses and tapping into people's senses and hitting those hot buttons. And when I saw the site, I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, that's, man, it's hot, bro. I like that, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. What? Let me ask you, man, how your sneakers selling, man? Because I told you, man, you don't have my size right now, but I got to get me a pair of 11s, man. But
We'll get back. We'll be back in with that. Again, with everything that went on, it kind of
yeah,
created a lot of chaos because again, some of my products are out of Italy. One being the sneakers
yeah,
and the fragrance itself is out of Italy. Some of the factories are back online, but my concern is bringing the product back here and the
right.
safety factor of I'll make sure nothing's contaminated, and then I'm sending it out to you, and then you get them and you like,
Over there, yeah.
that was the last thing I clapped.
I'm gonna
It's
leave
in
a
Germany to
1-star
do that,
review, man. Nah, you know,
so I don't
yeah,
want to do it.
but that,
So,
yeah, that's been affecting a lot of people, especially bringing in stuff from other places. Man, I saw in your bio real quick that you had worked with Ving Rhames. He
yeah,
had wore some,
yeah,
yeah. All
yeah.
right, man.
The suit, yeah. I don't know. Did I send you a picture of them? If I didn't, I'll
Nah,
send you another picture. Yeah, I'll send you a
okay,
picture. This is when I was doing the Paul Aarrington, New York, and I provided the suits for that
okay,
movie. Uh,
got
Ving Rhames had on the suit, and a couple of other characters throughout the movie had on suits and things like that. It
you.
was a good experience, but here's the one thing I'll tell you about doing suits and clothes for movies.
Okay,
Most people don't understand that when they're shooting movies, they're shooting shots over and over and over from different angles and different scenarios. Okay, like one of the suits that was in that particular movie, the guy gets shot and he falls into the water.
right,
Okay, so that means I had to have multiple,
yeah,
suits just for
right,
that one shot so that they could shoot it from different angles,
right, right, right,
and I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, the cost, like,
yeah,
I think it's about that one scene. I forgot the guy's name, but he had on about 7 suits. Took
damn,
about 7 of them to shoot that one scene. I was
man.
just like,
Um,
come
man,
on,
I gotta ask you,
because
man.
if it would have went further than that,
Right.
uh-huh,
I
you
gotta
know,
ask you, man. the suits you made look better than the ones he be modeling for Giorgio Brutini, right? You know how
Yeah,
Ving Rhames.
yeah,
I'm messing with
yeah,
you.
man.
Ving
Yeah,
Rhames had a
yeah.
matching hat, the shoe, and all of that stuff, man.
You know,
I be
um,
cracking up. Yeah,
I
that
think a lot
wasn't.
of that Chicago style, type of, yeah, with the hat and
Yeah,
you got the gators and nah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I've used a lot of the fabrics I was using for suitings. Uh,
Mhm.
we went as far as using some shark skin,
Oh
stuff,
wow.
but like the colors were, they weren't bright, but they were muted enough, like a deep navy shark skin, so it wasn't excessively shiny, but it had just enough luster for you to be like,
Right.
oh, that's nice. And I'll send you the pictures. I still got the
All right.
pictures from the movie,
That's what's up.
the ones with Ving in the suits and the one with the other guys in the suits. And I got a chance to work with Blair Underwood on this movie. He was
Yeah,
directing it. Yeah, nice guy,
man.
bro.
Let me
Really
ask
nice
you.
guy. Mhm.
Let me ask you about Ving real quick, because he has that persona. He's always playing a tough guy, man. How is he in real life?
That day that I was there on the shoot, he was
Uh,
in character. So there wasn't much
okay.
of any, yeah, there wasn't much of any conversation outside of
Okay.
like, he was just there. And when he wasn't shooting at that very second, it was just a,
Hmm.
kind of keep his focus
Hmm.
where he needed to be. So I didn't get a chance to really
Got
conversate with him like that. But he seems like a nice guy.
it. Yeah.
But that day he was in character, and
Right.
he was a great guy. But this brings me back to what you asked about connections and how do you get from one place to another.
Mm.
A friend of mine, Sean Carey, who actually had, he still has a company. He works in film industry, but he has a company called Athlete Concierge, and what he did, he made a business out of handling all of the celebrities and athletes' needs. So if they were traveling or whatever, he would acquire like suits and watches and bracelets and whatever they needed. So I connected with him because he was always dealing with
Yeah.
the celebrities in the movies and the athletes and things like that. So he had a
Right.
concierge service specifically to them. And as I connected with him, I was like, all right, this makes sense.
Right. Right.
He acquires the things that they're looking for that they don't have time to go get, so.
That's
uh,
what's up, man. I got about two more questions for you, man. I appreciate you
Sure.
sharing time. Where do you see yourself and your business in about 5 years, man?
In about 5 years, yeah, I'm definitely looking to be on the, and I don't want to say exactly on the level, but probably more so above like your Ralph Lauren's and your Lacoste, because they've become the staple designers, you know, of the culture that we live in. Even our own culture, look at these brands like they have been around forever, and you can perceivably look
Right.
at them and be like, oh, they're not going nowhere. Through all
Right.
of the economic ups and downs, these brands have been there and have been
Right.
excessively stable. But then there are other companies that you be like, oh man, they about to go out of business. For example, J. Crew just filed for bankruptcy, right? J. Crew and
Yep.
a lot of other retailers. I think J.C. Penney's filed
Yep. He just
um,
filed.
for bankruptcy, and I think Amazon's about to step in and buy them. So that might be some
Yeah.
stock so you might want to look at.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's looking beyond their level, but being able to be more efficient than some of these companies are, because some of the bigger companies, they're large, but the larger you get sometimes, the slower things get internally because you have so many compartmentalized, decisions to be made. It's like, okay, I'm gonna sign off on this, but it has to go to this person and then to that person, and it makes them slow and clumsy. And then that's when the big companies start outsourcing the little guys to be like, yo, can you handle this for us? Because
Right.
if you do it internally, it just
Yeah.
takes too long, and I'm trying to avoid that, but be at that level minus the chaos internally,
Okay. Do you have an exit strategy, or are you just, as a creator, are you just going to continue to create? Or if somebody came to you and said, man, hey, Paul, man, I want to buy your line. Would you be
Mhm.
down to sell it, or do you have an exit strategy, or you just rolling and see
Well,
what
I'm going
happens?
to sell it completely. Yeah, I don't want to sell it off completely because my whole objective is to be able to pass this to my son who has the same name. So he's Paul Aarrington III, you know.
Okay.
So I want to be able to pass that to him and have him
Mm.
step into, okay, you know, dad took it here. Where
Right.
can he take it from there? You know, so we're kind of conditioning him now to
Cool.
realize everything he's surrounded by so that he understands, you know,
Mm.
what he has the capability of doing, and also to keep him from kind of, you know, mixing in the wrong crowds as he gets older. He's only 3 now, but
Oh,
you know,
okay.
if we condition him to the like, yeah, like this is what you're capable of. This is what you have in front of you. You
Right.
don't need to look over there like these guys are doing whatever. Don't you
Yeah.
worry about that. This
Yeah.
is where your focus needs to be, so that when I'm not here, this is your, you know. So.
Yeah. You got him in the sewing room, man. You got him in the sweatshop yet? Sewing yet? No.
Yeah, yeah, he likes to sit there and pound on
Mhm.
the drum, the surface controllers and the keyboards and things like that. That's where he's at, and we're looking to we're building a show for him on YouTube. We're actually, you know, putting all of that together now. So
That's
I'm
what's
looking
up.
at, you know, getting the animators to create an opening for him. We already got the licensed music for that. You
That's
know,
what's
put
up.
that all together, and then, you know, he's like, "Hi, welcome," and you know, name of the show. So we're conditioning him already, you know,
That's
for
what's up.
that. So we got the little cameras, you know, set up, and we're
Mhm.
gonna turn his room into that YouTube, you know, play studio. But we're trying to make it unique so that he has, you know, the ability to teach kids his age things as well. You know, I don't want to make another video where he's just playing with toys for about an hour and other kids are just watching him play with toys, and it
Right.
becomes a commercial in essence. You know, even though some people have made a lot of money off of it, you know, but if he can take that and teach them, like, hey, you know, there was a wolf spider outside running around in the house today, and you know, this is what I learned about them, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
just make it so that it's informative and not just all right, I'm playing. I got these new monster trucks and vroom, vroom,
Right.
vroom, and
Well,
it's all well and good, but you know, it's been done 500 times over. You
yeah.
know, so
It's funny
that's where
that
we're
you
at with
mentioned
that.
that. It's funny you mentioned that because my cousin is friends. I don't know if you ever watched the show Mixed Dish. Uh, it's the Blackish spinoff. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the little girl that plays
It's on
I'm
Netflix,
sorry,
is it? Is
huh?
it on Netflix?
No, it's on I think it's ABC,
Okay,
whatever. So
okay.
it's about it's actually Bo, which is whatchamacallit, Ross, Tracy Ellis Ross, her character
Yeah.
when she was a kid. But her little
Okay.
sister, Santi, my cousin, she's from Jersey. My cousin used to go to church with them. They moved out to LA now, but I actually got to
Okay.
meet her dad. And the way her name is Michael Michelle, the way she got started was on YouTube. Same thing. And then
Yeah.
she had a big YouTube following. And it's
Hmm.
crazy because I was hanging out with him over the summer before the show dropped. And he was just telling me about, how they got started and stuff like that. It's amazing, all from YouTube. So with today's technology,
Yeah.
I always tell our folk right now, yeah, we always messed around on Twitter. We over here doing stupid videos on because you got your Popeyes chicken sandwich. My thing is use those tools, to create, not and support us. So instead of tweeting about
Exactly.
you walking around balancing 3 chicken sandwiches on your head from Popeyes, why don't you go and shout out a couple of businesses, black-owned businesses that you support?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly.
And so we got to start being able to leverage that. And I like what you said, bro. Not just with your son playing with monster trucks, give us some education, talking about
Right.
different things, man. So yeah, when you get that up and running, man, let me know, man. Shoot me some links, bro. You know, shoot
We
me.
should have the pilot for it. I give it by the end of June, because, like I said, all of
Okay.
the technical resources we have the cameras, we have the lighting. On
Mhm.
the animated part, the animation part, you know, I'm working on that now as an opening. You know, the
Mhm.
music part of it, we got, you know, put all that together. You know, show him how to intro into that. You know, I mean, we're gonna go through the whole gambit with him. If he even the director's slab, coming in with the, scene one, whatever, so that he
Yeah,
sees this.
that's what's
You
up.
know, so he sees this and he
Yeah,
learns, and he's not, he's less likely to want to be outside in the street doing
whatever.
nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we don't need any more of that. So if we can condition him to take his own project, and when I leave him to another level, hopefully it will inspire someone else to be like, you know what?
Exactly.
That's what we need to do. You
Man,
know,
you
that's what.
should think about uh somebody filming your son about how you're doing this. You know what I mean? That would be cool too. Like, you see what I'm saying?
It's,
This is what we
it's
did.
true.
Yeah, yeah. So now they can take
I
that
mean, it's what
blueprint.
I did.
Yeah, take that
Uh-huh.
blueprint. I'll send the contract later on, man. But
All right.
my residuals. But nah,
Well,
but like behind the
works.
scenes, this is how we created that.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I think that a lot of time as parents, I hear, I got two daughters, 24 and 21. So
Mm-hmm.
they grown now, but well, they kind of grown because they, how that is. They ain't never all the way grown.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I got it.
but
I got it.
but the thing is, I taught them, man, at an early age. When they got to the age when Uggs were real big, I think my oldest was maybe like 9 or 10, and my youngest was
Mm-hmm.
7. They were like, "Oh, Dad," they must have had like every Christmas they want each one a pair of Uggs, and I said, "Man, damn, over the summertime, y'all got to start doing something." So what I did
Yeah.
was, we got a minor league baseball team not far from us in Delaware. And I called them
Okay.
up and I'm like, I said, "Man, do y'all have a water ice cart? Y'all probably in New York call it Italian ice, but we in Philly call it water ice."
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Nah." So I said, I'm interested in starting a business. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was for my girls. And so they could earn money. So they were like, "Nah, come on up." We met with them. I spent $7,000 on a cold cart, got it wrapped with our, business
Yeah.
name. So for 41
Mm-hmm.
nights in the spring and summer, I'm doing my own business, but I'm coming home, we scooping water ice, 41 home games. And it got so good that the vendors there, the management company was like, "Look, we got a place in DC where the DC United play, and we would love for you guys to have a cart out there." So I was like, "Damn, I got to go buy another $7,000 cart." And now sometimes we'd have games on the same day, like on the weekends with DC United. So me and the girls may be in DC, my wife and some other folk, at the other stadium. And man, like that first summer, I think we did about, our cut was $30,000. And I used to let
See,
them
but that's
count.
what you do.
Yeah, let them count the money, because you do a night, $3,000, like especially down DC United, and when you little 10 and 7 or 11 and 8, and you counting that money, I'm like, "Look, this is showing you that you
Uh-huh.
can create your own." You see what I mean? So you don't have to depend on anybody else. And we did that for about 3 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, we did that for 3 years, bro, and it showed them. And my oldest daughter now, who started out in the entertainment industry in LA, now she's working for Squarespace in New York in the marketing department.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Oh, Dad, I don't know if I'm fulfilled." I said, "Look, do what you need to do. Leverage your experiences wherever you are, and when you feel that you're ready to move out on your own, then you go ahead and do that." But I can tell
Yeah.
now, eventually, I don't know when, but she's going to be out on her own.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that process that she has to go to. So I said that to say this, man, that I want all the BEB family members that's listening, take note to what my man Paul is talking about, training his son up, showing him there's other things out there, and trying to get him started to where he's thinking about being an owner, a producer, and not just a consumer. So that's big
Yep.
kudos for that, bro. That's
Thank you, bro.
positive thinking, man. Real good thinking, man.
Um, the other thing, real quick, not to cut you off,
Yeah,
you
that's all
know,
right.
I definitely want to make sure, you know, maybe when he gets around 4 or 5, he's reading your book,
That's
New
what's up.
Black Wall Street. So,
I
I
mean,
have the book here,
I appreciate it. I got
so that'll
I
be
got to
it.
send that other one that's signed. I get that for you, my
All
man.
right.
Yeah. But that's really what it's about, man. It's really teaching our kids.
Exactly.
A lot of times, man, I don't want to digress too much, but a lot of times, like I'll hear people say, "Oh man, they're not teaching enough Black history in my kids' school. They're not doing this." That's your job as a parent. So if they're not getting what you feel they need, that's where you come in. So with my kids, we Black history books, we used to tell stories, all of that stuff, man. So it was a thing where you as a parent, you have to raise and train your child as to what they should do, and stop letting the schools raise them and the TV raise them. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into that's a
Exactly.
whole nother show topic. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, so I,
Yeah.
I commend you, bro. That's powerful,
Thank
man.
you.
Man, before we close it on
Thank
out,
you.
man, you on social media? I know. Give us your websites again. And if you're on social media, give us your handles, man, before we close it on out.
Okay. The website is www.paularringtondenimstudio.com, or you can just type in paularrington.com. Arrington is two A's, two R's, INGTON. I'm on Facebook, Paul Aarrington Denim Studio. You can, take a look at Facebook and see some of the things I've done, currently, in the past, work with different youth groups and things like that, all in the pictures. Matter of fact, I actually did a program real quick, where we taught kids how to, go from a concept to a finished product
That's
and
what's
sell it. And we did all of it. Part of it was classroom, and part of it I had gotten a permit to do it in 14th Street Union Square. So I
oh
took the
man.
kids, took a group of kids, and we took them out there after we went through the classroom stuff, introduced them to some key people, marketing and things like that. We did a photo shoot, took all of that, went to 14th Street Union Square, and pressed and sold shirts to the public right then, right there.
Brother, you know what's funny? I'm glad you mentioned that, because I had highlighted, written down charity work, because one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I feel that as entrepreneurs, we're here for service, just in general. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or not. We're here for service. So being
Mm-hmm.
able to reach back, mentor, share your experiences and your know-how with kids, man, take them under your wing.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big proponent of that, brother, because we got to do that, man. And like in terms of like I got about 4 mentors or mentees right now that I'm working with, younger entrepreneurs that they reached out to me. How much? I don't have any money. Don't worry about it. I got you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So let's do that. So I definitely respect that, man. And that's something that we all need to do in whatever proficiencies that we have. If you see a younger brother or sister that's interested and needs some help, bring them under your wing. You know what I mean? That apprentice, that mentor that's going to help them move forward, man. So I once again commend you on that, brother. That's powerful stuff. And that's real life stuff. That's hands-on. You're not just sitting there taking the kid to the movies. You're trying to give them skills, that they can leverage as they continue to grow, man. Powerful, brother. Man, is there anything that I forgot to ask you or you wanted to say before we close it on out?
No, I think we covered a lot of stuff. What I do look forward to doing, maybe we can collaborate on something, again, involving kids and things like that. They're actually fun to be around, believe it or not. Dealing with a lot
I
of
know
kids
they are, man.
especially with the foot, if it's enough of them. So maybe we can do something like that once everything kind of gets settled out here. We can be outdoors more. And there are different organizations that cater to kids for entrepreneurship, and we can get something like that on board. I can get the permits for whatever we need to do it, and make something like that happen. Like I said, I did it on 14th Street Union Square in Manhattan because there was an enormous amount of people in that area. So for the kids to have the T-shirts that they were making, heat press them on the spot and sell them, it taught them to I thought it is, I made it tangible, and I made it into a sellable product. And if we could do something like that, man, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm all for that too, bro. We definitely got to chat offline, man. Did you let them keep the money?
Of course,
All right.
we didn't take food money. We didn't take. And it's not like we put it in, in the shop. And it's like, don't you worry about that. No,
You ain't, you ain't getting nothing off the top, man.
no. Plus we
That's
had a
what's up.
foundation there. We had a foundation there. So I'm sure they'll watch who I was like. Is that a
I was just
shame?
messing with you, bro.
I know.
Yeah, but that's beautiful, man. Brother, I appreciate you, man, for sharing all these gems, man, with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. And like I said, we gotta talk anyway about some collabs too, off of air, man. But once again, yeah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. And you know how we do it on the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, guys. My brother, check out the website, support my brother. He's doing good things out here. And that's how we do it, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you very much, Jay. So I'll talk to you offline, man.
Okay, brother. That was an amazing interview with my man, Paul Aarrington, the founder of Paul Aarrington Denim Studios. Now, before we get on with the show, I just want to share my social media contact information and also my entrepreneur resource links. And then we're going to do some takeaways and then close the show out. So my new book is out, guys, A New Black Wall Street. Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. You can go to anewblackwallstreet.com. Pick yourself up a copy. The physical copy is $14.95 and the digital version is $9.95. Now, I've also created a new compatible online component for e-commerce, and it's titled Brand Builder Academy Elite. You can go to bbaelite.com. bbaelite.com. It's a 12-week implementation program that takes you from A to Z about building an e-commerce business, either a physical products business or a digital products business. So go to bbaelite.com, and when you get there, you can save $100. Just go and put the coupon code BBAElite100. BBAElite100, but go to bbaelite.com. Pound for pound, it's my best work. Okay. Now, in addition to that, at the outset, I talked about my 2 platforms designed to help build an economic power base in the Black economy and circulate those Black dollars. The first site is called BeSmartByBlack.com. BeSmartByBlack.com. It is for Black product producers who want to sell their products to Black consumers worldwide. And it is free. So upload your product information to BeSmartByBlack.com. Now, for all you freelancers who do stuff on Fiverr.com or Freelancer.com, I've created a platform just for you titled HireBlackFreelancers.com, HIRE, BlackFreelancers.com. Once again, it is free to put your information up there and connect with Black consumers and Black businesses that want to find a Black freelancer. Now, let's talk about if you want to connect with me. Now, you can connect with me anything long. Okay, you can hit me at jjones at blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. That's JAYJONES at blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, go to Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Twitter, jjones001. That's JAYJONES 001. Instagram, jjones for real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, family. I got additional content that comes out on YouTube that is not on the show. And yes, the show does come out on YouTube, but there's additional content. So go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, hit that subscribe and that like button. Also, if you want to be included in the BEB text line for notifications and reminders, text BEB to 555-888. BEB to 555-888. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn, look for J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. And I know this was a mouthful, so if you go to bebconnect.com, BEB, like Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, connect. All of that information that I just talked about, my social media links and all of my resource links are there, bebconnect.com. It's a page on my website. Also, I just want to talk about real quick some takeaways from today's interview. Couple things stood out to me with Paul's interview. The first thing was he started his business on a whim. Okay. He had no experience in the fashion or design industry. And when his buddy said Paul Aarrington menswear and it sounded good, he said, you know what the heck? But what I really liked about what he said was he took the time to learn. Okay. And he said it was a long learning curve, but he didn't quit and he stuck it out. So when his girlfriend's aunt was teaching him, was telling him, hey man, you need to learn how to sew, he didn't shy away from that. See, a lot of times prospective entrepreneurs shy away from things, especially when work has to do with it. So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, it all comes with work. Okay. So you heard in one of the previous episodes, we interviewed my man, Sean Prez, that used to work with Diddy, and he talked about Diddy's work ethic. So one of the things that I really liked about this interview that Paul said, hey, it was a long learning curve, but he took the time to learn his craft. And if you don't learn your craft, you're not going to be successful. Another thing that I'm really big on that I really like was when he talked about controlling his own vertical. So now, instead of farming out everything, he has a sewing shop so he can do his own sewing. He has printing, he does embroidery and all of that. So now what he's doing is he's taking the control back to him. He doesn't have to wait for somebody to ship something from China so he can then resell it. Okay. He's taking control from production all the way to distribution. And that's creating a vertical. And he talked about that, how it can save time and also save money. So that was real big too. And another thing, when we talked about some of these high-end designers, I really like something that Paul said. He said, youth validate themselves by others, so that in order to be validated, they think that you got to wear Versace, you know what I mean? Whatever, Louis Vuitton, whoever the high-end designers are. When really we have those same types of products and those same types of designers in our community. The problem is that we haven't, or our designers haven't been validated by any of those other designers. And the unfortunate fact is that they shouldn't have to be. If we start valuing our own talents and skills and our own designers and say, hey man, the heck with Versace or Louis, whatever, I got this Paul Aarrington piece right here. That's what we have to get to, guys. We're spending all of our money, $1.3 trillion, and all of it, or damn near all of it, is going to other people that really don't care about you. So like Paul said in the interview, if you try to get a sit down with some of these high-end designers, they're like, man, get out of here. And it's funny because we gravitate to things, and to be quite honest, a lot of their clothing and their products weren't even designed for us. But they're not going to turn your money down. They'll let you go ahead and be on the videos and all of that, spending whatever $5,000 for a freaking shirt or whatever you're wearing, Versace shirt. They don't mind you doing that. The problem is somebody real smart told me this a long time ago. Don't wear your money on your back. Don't wear your money on your back. Take that money and use it to make money. But once again, it all comes to a mental thing where it's validation. And that's what Paul was saying. You haven't made it, or we strive to make it. So we look in our community, what does making it mean? Oh, that's somebody, he got a Benz. Oh, this person's wearing Versace. Oh, he got Gucci on. And to us, some people that aren't enlightened yet, that means, quote unquote, that they made it. You haven't made it. All that means is you spending money on somebody else's, another ethnicity, as opposed to putting money in some of our brothers and sisters' pockets that have just the same type quality, but may not have, quote unquote, the name yet. So that's what we always got to think about, guys. Where are we spending our money? And I said this on several shows. The statistics show, man, we only spend 2 cents out of every dollar on a black-owned business. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, we have the solution to everything that we need to do right here, and it's in Hip Pocket National. The problem is we're not taking our funds and building and supporting black-owned businesses. We do this so unconsciously that we don't even think about it. So 2 cents of every dollar, that's a shame. That doesn't even make any sense at all. So we got to start being conscious spenders. Spend consciously with your brothers and sisters and help grow their businesses. And so I was listening to Professor James Smalls. So if you never listened to Professor Smalls, Just go on YouTube, Google Professor James Smalls. He's one of the elders out there that's been breaking it down for 50 years. And he just talks about how, once again, we've been programmed, inoculated basically, that everything that somebody else does is better. Their ice is colder than ours. Their clothing is better than ours. And so we're aspiring to get things, and the manufacturers or the producers of those products and services don't give a damn about you, but we still running each other over to go out there and support them when we should be supporting us. Man, y'all know I can do a whole show on this, on the humbug, and talk about this all day long, but I'm going to shut it down right here. But once again, guys, when you have designers and you have that talent, people like Paul Aarrington, support that. Support that. Check out the website. If you see something that you like, go support that brother. And that's what we got to do. We got to start spending more than 2 cents out of every dollar on black-owned businesses. We always complaining about we can't get no shine or whatever. Hey, take the time, make conscious decisions to buy black. All right, buy, build, and support black-owned businesses. Hey, before we also close out, I always say each and every week, guys, we get more and more downloads, and that's because of you, the BEB family. Please continue to spread the word. This isn't a podcast. It's not just a blog. It's a movement. It's about economic empowerment in the black community, about building, starting, growing, and supporting black-owned businesses. That's the way out. There's no revolution without economics. Now, I don't have that shirt on today, but I do have this one. Let me see. There it is. Dedicate to educate, to elevate, to aggregate, to liberate. So dedicate to educate yourself and others, to elevate, meaning to uplift, to aggregate, meaning to come together, to liberate, which is freedom. Dedicate to educate, to elevate, to aggregate, to liberate. That's what we got to do. Love y'all. See you same time next week. Peace.